Hello and a very warm welcome to this special edition of World Panorama on Rajya Sabha Television with me, Frank Pereira. India and Italy will complete 70 years of diplomatic ties in March 2018. Over the last 30 years, though, the ties between the two countries have been dominated by the Bofors scandal and Ottavio Cutrocchi. Over the last 1 decade or so, the Italian Marines row has soured ties between the two nations. But ever since Prime Minister Paolo Gentiloni's visit in October 2017 to India, we've seen a change as far as the relationship between India and Italy are concerned. To talk about bilateral ties, I have with me the Italian ambassador to India, Mr. Lorenzo Angeloni. Ambassador, welcome to Rajya Sabha Television and thank you for joining me on the program.
Thank you. Thank you very much and good evening, and thank you very much for inviting me.
So 70 years of diplomatic ties will be completed between India and Italy in a month from now, that is March 2018. I'm sure there are several events lined up for that particular event. What's going to happen?
Well, it's a very important moment for our bilateral relationship. 70 years, it's a long period. And when we started thinking to the program, first of all, we wanted to imagine something common between you and us. So we proposed for the visit of our Prime Minister to launch a common logo. So now the logo is both on our social media and the social media of your embassy in Rome. The two leaders signed an agreement preparing the scheme and the frame for the activities of the two embassies and encouraging the embassies to come up with ideas and program. And I know that my colleague Rinat Sando is working hard on that. As far as our embassy is concerned, we prepared a program that wanted to offer some outstanding performance of our culture, to bring our culture in India, and also to show some cultural product that could match the two countries together. I just come up with an example. We will have a very interesting jazz concert organized for this occasion by some Italian musicians with Indian musicians that will perform here in Delhi, Calcutta and Bangalore. It's a brand new experiment and that's interesting that it's coming for this opportunity. Or recalling the contribution of our scholars like Tucci in the Indologist studies. So we wanted first of all to focus on that. Then we will open in a few days on the 8th of February at the National Gallery of Modern Art with something, as I told you before, outstanding, which is an exhibit of Raffaello. Of course, we don't have the original artwork because you know that these great masters' artwork are very difficult to move from a museum to another. But thanks to some specific digitally technology that will be shown in a magnificent way some of the most important masterpiece of Raffaello. It will be really an outstanding event. And for instance, coming back to the idea of recalling and creating together experience, I personally edited a book that is collecting 70 stories for the 70 years. 70 stories of important people across Italy and India. So diplomats, artists, musicians, politicians, they offer their contribution, their experience. And this volume will be launched both in Rome and in Delhi on ebook and paper. And I'm sure will be for me was quite a moving reading to see how many experiences were elicited by the encounter of our people.
Sure.
Something that I'm sure will be appreciated.
You know, you spoke about cultural ties and you're saying that you want to enhance cultural ties between India and Italy going forward. How can we forget food, the Italian pizza and pasta, and of course Indian butter chicken and so many other dishes as well?
Yes, of course. I mean, food will be. I mean, in every moment, in every event, there will be a food side of the event. Of course, this is. I take it for granted, as I know that Indian people like very much Italian food and vice versa.
Sure. Okay. Let's get to some serious business now. You know, what's the status of the ties between India and Italy at the moment? Because both countries have seen, ups and downs in their bilateral relations.
Yeah. Well, today I would say in a few words that relations ties are comprehensive, are on the rise. We are working on quite every sector of the bilateral relationship. Of course, business is very important. Business, I have to say, always happened between Italy and India, also during the downs, because there are, entwined relations since long. And we have, for instance, here more than 600 companies working in India, basically in the manufacturing. So business was always there, but of course, if the two government and the two administration can provide support, we expect business to grow rapidly. And international, of course, we will come back there later, but also on the international arena, so we have a lot of interests in common. So I would say in a few words that relations now are very good, increasing, and very promising.
How do we take it to the next level?
Well, first of all, we have to increase the interactions between our leaders. So not only the Prime Minister that had the opportunity to spend several hours together at the end of October, but also at the government level for sure. After Mr. Gentiloni, 4 members of our government visited India in October, November, and December. And also at the level of MPs. So I think that is very important. So with other countries, we have very interesting relations between MPs. Now Italy is about to have elections, so we will have a new parliament in a few weeks. But one of my endeavor will be exactly to strengthen relations between the two chambers here and in Italy, and to provide more space for a number of subjects. Just consider the fact that our two governments in these years they had two reforming agenda, and I can tell you a number of points of this reforming agenda was common. So we had a lot of reforming on the public administrations. We had a lot of reforming on taxation. So I think it would be very, very useful to compare notes at the level of Commission.
You spoke about elections being around the corner in Italy yet again. Now that is something that I wanted to ask you about, because over the last 12 years, Italy has had 7 prime ministers. So, that doesn't send out a very good message about some kind of stability, political stability in the country. Is that something that could possibly, affect ties between India and Italy?
Well, we can discuss on what does it mean stability, but I answer giving you an example. In the last 5 years, so now we are, as I said, just completing the legislature, which lasts 5 years. In these 5 years, so we had 3 governments, but the 3 government was led by the same party. So majority was the same, just 3 different PM with slight different composition of the government, but the political lead, the direction of our foreign policy and inner policy was the same. So we are coming at the end of the legislature with a party that was at the head of our government for 5 years. So, and I really think that after the elections we will start a new legislature having the perspective of completing this. So I don't see any major inconvenience in our international, especially in our international relations that are, as you well know, thick and worldly. So I don't see any inconvenience of that.
Sure, but bilateral ties between two countries is also, the camaraderie, the friendship between the two heads of state as well. So the head of state keeps changing, it becomes a little difficult, doesn't it? Yes.
No, I agree with you. If we consider that today diplomacy or international politics is more and more made by personal relations. But I can tell you that, the personal relations that, for instance, Prime Minister Gentiloni and Prime Minister Modi had, not only in Delhi, but before at the margin of G20, So it was, I mean, very, very natural and very strong. So I mean, the fact that Mr. Gentiloni was the third prime minister in these 5 years didn't prevent the personal relation with your prime minister.
Sure, so the policy hasn't changed is what you're suggesting, so it really shouldn't make too much of a difference. Moving ahead, now you spoke about Prime Minister Modi. Of course, Prime Minister Gentiloni was in India in October 2017. Yeah. Has Prime Minister Modi or the Ministry of External Affairs here in India dropped any hints on Prime Minister Modi reciprocating that visit and maybe visiting Italy at some point in time?
Of course. I mean, first of all, the invitation has been already communicated in person by Prime Minister Gentiloni during the visit. We are just waiting for elections in order to formalize the invitation, but we are very keen, and we will start working on the visit of your Prime Minister as soon as we will have a government. I think at the end of March, beginning of April. The visit in Italy is not only due to reciprocate our visit to Italy in India and to increase the work and to develop the work done, but will be a very good opportunity for Prime Minister to visit the most wider Indian community in the continental Europe. So we have around 170,000 Indian people living in Italy, and they are really very, very rooted. Prime Minister Gentiloni was highlighting this during the meeting with Prime Minister Modi. It's an example of people coming from another country that managed to be very inserted in our economic fabric. So I mean, it's a very positive example of presence of migration.
So can we expect a visit anytime within the first half of the year? Can I say safely?
Of course, yes, yes. We will work on that exactly with this aim.
Okay, great, fantastic. Okay, let's talk about areas of difficulties between the two countries now. You know, over the last decade, since 2009, ever since the Italian Marines row, happened, ties between the two countries soured a little bit. Has that changed over the years?
Well, the Marine issue, unfortunately, was on the way for a period of time. Then the two governments concurrently decided to move the issue to the arbitration track, and happened in 2015. Then this allowed to liberate the way and to restart progressively the relationship. So first, Honorable Minister Swaraj visited Rome, and then, as you know, and we have recalled, a number of visits came to India. The arbitration, the verdict, will be released next year.
So you're just going to wait for that now because the matter is already in court. So there's nothing much that anybody can do at this point in time.
Yeah, no, of course. In this moment is the arbitration that are doing their work, and they will take a decision on jurisdiction.
But is it going to be a thorn in the ties between India and Italy?
I mean, not now. So I mean, as I told you, the decision was taken concurrently by the two governments.
Sure. You know, another issue that keeps coming up when you talk about India-Italy ties, especially in the minds of the general public and the media and the discourse that we've seen between India and Italy over the last 30 years, of course, is the name of Ottavio Quattrocchi that keeps coming up, and the Bofors scandal. Is that a closed chapter now?
Well, Bofors is not an Italian enterprise, and Mr. Quattrocchi, who was an Italian citizen, passed away in 2013. So, I mean, for us, the case is closed.
So it's done and dusted, there's nothing more to say?
I mean, for us, yes.
Okay, let's talk about another issue then. Of course, the issue of another defense, topic that we can talk about. When brought up Bofors, then we should obviously bring up Augusta Westland. Yes. So where does that matter stand for you?
Well, you may know that in Italy a trial was initiated some years ago with two persons accused, were at that time the CEO of Augusta Westland and the CEO of Finmeccanica. This trial has gone through all the degree of justice that we have. We have 3 degrees of justice, and recently, just a few weeks ago, the final trial, so the equivalent of the Supreme Court, came up with the final verdict, and the verdict was of acquitting of all the accused person. On our side, the judiciary has done its job. Now I know that in India the trial will be initiated soon, and of course we have full respect of the trial, and the trial will take its course. But at the same time, and this is what also our Prime Minister highlighted, so I mean, we in Italy, we separate completely things from the judiciary and the government. So judiciary has to do its own course. On our side, the main Italian company on the defense sector, which is now called Leonardo, from Leonardo da Vinci. Leonardo Finmeccanica, in these last 3 years, has completely reshaped its form. It's not an holding anymore, it's one company. They adopted a number of international rules on transparency. They received already a UN award for that, and Leonardo is very, very keen to come back to India and to work for the Make in India in the defense sector, and considering also form of transfer of technology.
Is there some kind of a framework that is being worked out so that Leonardo can enter India? Because the Augusta Westland issue has left a sour taste in the mouth.
Yes, but I told you, so I mean, for us, on our side, the judiciary has done its course. We have one of the major international players in the defense sector. Leonardo is one of the most important companies in the world, which is keen to come here and to work side by side with Indian companies. The framework is simply due to the fact that we are working with the aim of having a relationship in every sector. So, and I mean, on our angle, availability of restoring a relation, building a relation on these sectors is very clear.
You know, the defense sector is a highly competitive sector worldwide. There are several countries that are vying for the space and trying to, you know, find new avenues and new areas to get into. What is it that Leonardo can bring to the table that others can't?
Well, I mean,
I know it's a difficult question. I know it's a difficult question for you to answer.
No, I'm not in the condition to go down in details on what are the comparative advantage of Leonardo in comparison with international competitors, of course. But I mean, I think that for people working in this sector, it's very easy to compare. There are open sources very easily. It is very easy to get this. Yes. Yeah, to compare this and to know which is the importance in, I would say, every sector of the defense sector of our company. What can make the difference for India is the real availability of the international competitors to come here and to participate in a Make in India process. This will make the difference.
Great. You know, so the defense sector, as you have suggested, probably is a sector that Italy would like to, you know, to look at seriously in the days to come. What are the other sectors do you think that, you know, that you would like to concentrate on?
Well, we have, I would say naturally, a number of sectors where we can be a partner with India. And we started already working on some of that immediately after the visit of our Prime Minister. One of these is related to a big event that was organized here on the 2nd of November, that is the World Food India. So food processing. Food processing, I mean, we have an extensive experience on food processing because we are an agriculture country, and we managed to transform our agriculture in a very interesting industrial sector.
That's a very interesting point that you're making, because India is a large-scale producer agriculturally, but processing and infrastructure has always been an Achilles heel for India. So you're saying that you can collaborate on this sector, and you know there is tremendous potential, is what you're suggesting. Yes,
I'm not saying only this. I'm saying more because thanks to the participation of the World Food India and the meeting with the Minister Kobadal. So we established, and we signed an MOU on that, we established an Indo-Italian high-level forum on that. So, and the embassies now are working on that to because, you know, of course, food processing is a huge sector, and the problem are, of course, huge. But we are in the condition to detect specific aspects on how to participate to this, no? On the cold chain, for instance. That is something that is, I mean, tremendously important for India. So we have experience, we have companies that are keen to come here, and I think that could be, of course, reciprocal, great beneficial for both countries.
You know, talking about the agreements, 6 agreements were signed when Prime Minister Gentiloni was in India. What is the status of those agreements? How do you plan on implementing them?
Well, agreements are important, but most important is implementation of agreements, no? And this is the job of diplomats, ambassadors. So the most important agreements where I'm not listing all, but the most important was agreement on renewable energy. Then we established to create a work group, and now we have a date for this first meeting on the 15th of February. So, I mean, the follow-up came quite immediately. We decided to set up a high-level forum, bilateral again, on design, because, as you know, design is another very interesting sector. Design in interior, fashion, and industrial. And we have already great example of cooperation. Just think to the acquisition of Mahindra, of Pininfarina. Pininfarina was, I mean, the high-end automotive design in the world. So, I mean, the two companies are really working hard on that. We want to establish a forum to discuss the multiple opportunity that we have, and we are about to convene this forum in a very specific occasion, which is Salone del Mobile in Milano. Salone del Mobile, you know, that is the international fair of furniture, and the Indians are among the most important buyers. So we will use this commercial opportunity to set up a bilateral forum. And then we have important agreements signed on railways. Italy can play a role on safety especially, and people of Italian Railways will be here in Delhi next week to implement this. We signed an agreement of attracting investment, which is another important policy, and I think it is interesting that we managed to put the two institutions that have this task, Agenzia ICE in Italia and Invest India here. They are working together. So they're working together as partners. So it's our interest to attract investment from India and to attract investment from Italy. So they're working together, and this is also something that is undergoing. Okay. And the last one was cultural, a protocol on cultural cooperation, and we will have very interesting development there. We are working hard on cinema, because, I mean, we all know the importance of Bollywood. The history and the experience of the Italian cinema is well known. We are working to create a very interesting event. I cannot disclose something more, but we will have a very interesting event for India and Italy in Rome in October.
Great, fantastic, sounds great. You know, let's trade between the two countries. Yes. You know, Italy is India's 5th largest trading partner in the EU, but trade stands at about $9 billion between the two countries at this point in time. So there is tremendous potential. How do we tap this potential?
Well, you know, if we consider that India is one of the emerging countries that is growing more rapidly, I mean, we have seen the figures now updated just in these days. Growth is restarting in Europe, also in the Eurozone, but more interestingly, Italy is a country whose exports are very strong. So, I mean, the frame is there. The frame is there. My impression is that the more we will be able to organize these tables I was referring before, and the more we will give impetus to the exchange.
Sure. You know, while talking about trade, while the world is becoming protectionist, India is talking about globalization. Where does Italy stand?
Well, Prime Minister Gentiloni, in several occasions, I can recall G7 meetings in Taormina last year, or more recently in Davos, the day after your Prime Minister had his intervention. So I mean, the wording of Prime Minister of Italy is very clear. So we are for sustainable development, we are for supporting global economic growth. So we are clearly in favor of a world that is open and that can allow, I mean, the growth of international trade. So I mean, without any hesitation, I would say, on our side.
And you know, India's stock is growing globally, especially under Prime Minister Modi. You know, how do you look at this phenomenon?
Well, we are not only happy, but we are supportive of that. I can recall that, for instance, in the recent success of India acceding important non-proliferation mechanism, MTCR and Australia Group, so Italy was very, very supportive for that. And I can tell you also that we see with great favor this soft power of India spreading in the world. So I mean, for instance, we were immediately supportive of the idea of recognizing a day, International Day of Yoga, on the 21st of June. And I can tell you more. So I started, personally, I started practicing yoga once I arrived here 3 years ago. And I find extremely beneficial for my body, for my mind. So I'm, of course, maybe I can be a testimony of this importance of the soft power of yoga.
One final question before I go. In fact, it's not a question, but it's a message that you would probably like to send out to Indians and Italians before we wind up the program.
Well, the message is keep having an open mind towards each other. Already happening. I think that our two countries, as this volume that I invite all the people to read, the title is very interesting, because the title we decided is Something is in the Air, because actually it's a sort of love story of relations between our people. So I think that we love each other. We don't know each other very well. So we need to know each other very well. Each other, of course, I mean the present development of India, so what is going in Italy. So I mean the fact that Italy is the second manufacturing country in Europe, the fifth in the world. So we have a lot of things that have to be known better. So we will do, of course, our part, but I invite all people to continue to visit Italy and to be always open and supportive to the growth of this relation between two, I mean, magnificent countries that are countries that have a long history at their shoulder, and they can do a lot for the year to come.
All right. Yeah. Ambassador, it was a pleasure having you on the program. You put things into perspective for us, and you also spoke about where the ties between the two countries are heading, where they are at the moment, and you also spoke about tremendous potential for India and Italy. It was a pleasure talking to you and having you on the program.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure, and my personal greetings to the member of Rajya Sabha. Thank you very much for having me here with you tonight. Thank you.
All right. On that note, then we'll call it a wrap on this edition of World Panorama. That's it from me. See you again next time.